the last video, we finished Dark Souls 2. It's not a bad game, but I feel it's more of a mixed package. There are some great things to say about this game. Like any game, however, there are some flaws in this game. Let's get to discussing this game. Like the previous discussion video about Dark Souls 1, I will provide some prologue before starting Dark Souls 2. Back in June of 2024, another channel wanted me to play this game. I didn't like Dark Souls 2 at the time of this message. However, while playing Dark Souls 1, I was thinking a lot about playing Dark Souls 2 for the channel. I thought I overhated it when I first played it. I wanted to give it another chance as it's probably the most unique Souls game outside of Sekiro and Bloodborne. I decided to look at what weapons to use for this playthrough. Well, only a handful of weapons stood out to me. Those weapons are the mace, rapier, Drailing sword, black steel katana, and Dragon Slayer spear. You may have caught on that these are all dex weapons. On my first playthrough, I did a strength build and simply didn't want to do it again. I was somewhat worried going back into this game, but I decided to give this game another shot. I remember making a post about starting Dark Souls 2 back in February, and I was expecting more hate about this. Little did I know that you all really like Dark Souls 2. With that in mind, that gave me the motivation to start Dark Souls 2. I'm going to do this discussion video a little differently than the previous one. I'm going to say what I like about it and what I don't like. The first good thing I can say is that Dark Souls 2 looks pretty nice for an older game. Compared to Dark Souls 1, this game has more brighter areas than the previous game. Speaking of areas, the areas in this game were really good. Some of my favorites were Majula, Drailing Castle, Dragon Eyrie, Shrine of Amanda, and Iron Keep. I did say I didn't like Iron Keep, but it does have a really cool look to it. I had a good time going through some of the areas in this game. I can't give the areas all the praise, but you will soon know what I mean. I also want to say that leveling up in this game is ridiculously easy, as you get a lot of souls from bosses. I wanted to make that quick statement. Another great thing about Dark Souls 2 is the newly added mechanics. Did you know that Dark Souls 2 is one of 2 Souls games that have power stance in? The other Souls game is Elden Ring. Dark Souls 2 started one of the most powerful mechanics and only one other game uses it. Dark Souls 2 also has ziplining. This mechanic isn't used often, but it's still nice to have. They also added the lighting of a torch mechanic. It's really cool that you can use the fire from a bonfire or any fire to light your torch instead of just equipping it. I feel like the other games should have done this as well. However, the main mechanic that should have been in the other Souls games is the bonfire aesthetic. Why isn't this in any other Souls game? It can allow you to refight bosses you really like and for farming souls. This mechanic is one of the reasons this game is unique. I really wish FromSoft adds this in another game at some point, but it will likely never happen. If you're enjoying the content so far, why not comment below your thoughts and consider subscribing to the channel. Your support helps this channel and your comment has the chance to be featured in the next video. The next part in this discussion will actually be what things I have mixed opinions on. The first thing is the adaptability stat. Having a stat that affects your rolls isn't something in the other Souls games. You can upgrade this to have really good rolls, but if this is low, your dodge is basically gone. Well, the iframes are so short that it makes it feel that way. I don't think this idea isn't too bad, but I think it's better to not have a stat like this. The second mixed opinion I have are the hitboxes. I knew some of you knew I was going to say this. The hitboxes in this game is a hit or a miss, quite literally. Going through this game, I was expecting to get hit more often, but I didn't. The only boss I can think of with bad hitboxes is the Lost Sinner, but only with some moves. Other than that, people were somewhat wrong about the bad hitboxes, which this is entirely subjective. With the good and mixed things out of the way, let's go into what I didn't like about the game. The first thing I didn't like is the boss design. It's not the boss moves itself, but the fact that most of them are just people in armor. Compared to the other Souls games, there are few bosses that are fully armored. However, Dark Souls 2 has a lot of bosses that have armor. 13 bosses out of the 32 are just people full of armor. This may feel nitpicky, but it's something I noticed about the bosses in this game. The bosses themselves are not bad at all, and there are a few good ones. Some of my favorites are Smelter Demon, Pursuer, and Velstadt. I think the boss design could have been a bit better. The second thing I didn't like were the actual areas in the game. 3 areas I didn't like were Black Gulch, Iron Keep, and Earthen Peak. Black Gulch had those annoying poison statues that almost gave you poison instantly. Earthen Peak kind of had the poison issue, but not the statue issue. Earthen Peak can be frustrating sometimes to go through. Those enemies that somehow outpoise you and cause bleed. I don't have to go into detail about Iron Keep. The two problems with Iron Keep are the enemy's massive aggro range and having to deal with two of them at once most of the time. Be mindful that this is subjective and others may disagree with this. If you disagree, that's okay. Another bad thing I can say is the deck scaling is worse in this game. I don't know the reason behind why the developers did this. It just makes Dex weapons a bit harder to use, but this is too little of a concern. Well, what do I give Dark Souls 2? If this question was asked me when I first played, then I would say 5 out of 10, but now I would say 8.7 out of 10. This game is way better than I thought the first time. Dark Souls 2 is pretty unique for a Dark Souls game. People overhate this game while it should get some more love. I also prefer Dark Souls 1 and the other Souls games more, but that's just me. Before I wrap up this video, I want to thank you all for helping reach this channel to 150 subscribers. I appreciate everyone's support, and this support keeps me posting videos like this for you all. I really have to figure something out to celebrate. I'll figure it out, but in the meantime, I hope you enjoyed this discussion. If you did, leave a like. It helps the algorithm push this video for other people to see. Thank you once again for 150 subscribers, and I'll catch everyone in the next game we play. Have a wonderful and safe day.